Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Offenders Podcast. Sitting in my lap today is Evan.
Where is that guy? Oh, I thought you had an imaginary friend, because I'm sitting in a very comfortable chair, which is not Kyle's lap. Nothing against gay people, but that ain't my thing. You know, you can go be gay elsewhere, and just leave me at the extra ladies you leave behind.
Are you saying that if a guy sits in another guy's lap, he's gay?
Unless it's Santa Claus.
Oh, okay. You countered where I was going with that, because that was going to be what I was going to ask. Because what about Santa Claus?
Santa Claus is a close personal friend of mine, but let's not talk about that.
All right,
Save that for the December shows.
So this week it's just me and Evan, and that's partially because we want to talk about some of the big news this week. The Electronics Entertainment Expo, or E3 as it's more commonly known, taking place. So it's going to be pretty much an all video game show. Since there is no video, it's all audio, actually. Very ironic.
Indeed. It's also awesome that you said all video game show twice, as if there's not enough echo in the room already.
Yeah, yeah, we're doing this in the bathroom, laying down in a tub, cuddled together.
You ain't Santa Claus. Why you gotta go there?
But anyway, so we're coming at this from two different perspectives. Evan is the old school gamer type who loves his old Super Nintendo style games and things like that.
If I may,
okay.
I stick to very few systems because I feel, and I will go into this later, that the best has already come around. It doesn't matter how good the graphics are. It matters how good the story and the characters are. So I stick to 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, and the one closest to my heart is multi-arcade machine emulation, also known as MAME. So I can just play all the old arcade games that I played as a child at my home without spitting quarters and screaming at somebody.
Yeah, and I'm the opposite. Well, I mean, I love those games and stuff like that, but I still buy into the new stuff. Like, I kickstart games all the time, new ones that indie developers are doing. I buy brand new games that are coming out through Steam. I've owned a Wii, a PS3, multiple Xbox 360s, and I play PC gaming all the time. So we've got kind of like the modern current gamer and the old school gamer. And we're going to get both perspectives on some of the material coming out. So a lot of it's going to be me kind of giving it to Evan. And we're going to get his opinion on it. And I'll dole out my opinion with it. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. So first thing, we'll start where it all began this week, which was Monday morning. Microsoft comes out on stage in LA and they deliver their keynote speech to kick off E3.
We're gay. Signed Microsoft. I'm sorry, you said coming out, so I had to make the joke.
Well, I mean, a lot of what they had to say was pretty shitty, so... So a couple weeks ago, they announced the Xbox One, or as it's more commonly become known as the Xbone. And
That's a good pun.
It is pretty good. I just imagine the marketing guy sitting there, it's like, we're going to be the Xbox One, because it's the one system you need for everything in your home. This is going to be a great name. 2 minutes on the internet, and somebody's like, ha ha, Xbone, guy fired. Like, fuck you, you should have thought of this.
Nice. Good job.
But so, yeah, Microsoft comes out there, and they start showing games. Now, what I will say is that when they did the Xbox One announcement, all they showed game-wise were the same old tired sports games that you see every fucking year from EA, and another Call of Duty that's the same fucking thing every year, just different, better graphics sometimes. Okay, no real new games. They at least did show something different. They didn't even talk about sports games or Call of Duty this time, but the games they did show for the most part were pretty much crapola. And they didn't talk about the TV crap aspect of it, and they avoided the elephant in the room, which was all the stuff with the DRM and everything.
What does DRM stand for?
Digital Rights Management.
Okay.
I knew you were going to ask that, so I looked it up.
Thank you.
Digital Rights Management. So for those of you who don't know, that's basically what they use to protect piracy. And for those of you who don't know with the Xbox One, basically what it is that you buy a game, you play it, and you decide, I'm done with this game, I'd like to get rid of it. So nowadays you could just, you could sell it to a friend, give it to a friend, sell it on eBay, go trade it at GameStop or some other place that takes trade-ins. And that's that. And then you get credit or money and you can get another game. Well, the Xbox One, what it's going to do is you can sell it to a friend or give it to a friend. However, they have to pay a fee to activate it again because it's already been activated once because the Xbox One's always online. So it knows when a new game's put in. And after your friends activated it, before they can even activate it, they have to have been on your friends list for at least 30 days. And they have to have, 30 days, and then they also have to pay some fee to get it going again.
This is so fucking stupid.
Yeah. I mean, basically, to me, it's basically like Microsoft went to GameStop and it's like, you know what, fuck you, you're out of business. We don't want to deal with you anymore.
If I could, I know that you're going somewhere, but I have to ask you, where do they even begin to sit in a room and say, this is a good idea, let's go with this? Because, like, who do they even think they are to get people to say, yeah, I think people will be fine with not being able to trade games with their friends? I mean, did they have any Q&A where they talked about this bullshit, or what is it?
Well, they actually kind of had something. Like the guy who was one of the Microsoft kind of game developer guys, he posted something on his Twitter a couple weeks back about, no use games, and he was really snarky about it, and the internet kind of got up in arms over him, and he basically told him to get over it, and he got fired.
I heard about that.
Yeah, and
get over it.
Yeah, and that was pretty much how they introduced this to the public. But to play devil's advocate, I'm going to come on the side of Microsoft here for a moment. Not saying I agree with them, but just seeing their perspective. So when movie rentals started back in the day with VHS, a lot of those rental companies like Blockbuster and stuff, they would pay a fee to Hollywood, so they didn't feel like they were getting screwed by having this be able to rent stuff. Okay? Well, GameStop and these other companies who do these trade-in used games, they don't do that. So once a game's sold and then somebody starts reselling it, they get no cut of that profit from GameStop or any other company that does this.
And how do you know that?
How do I know this? Well, I worked for GameStop for a long time, but I've also looked in on it from the Blockbuster standpoint. Because there's a lot of people arguing for and against, and I wanted to know both sides and see which was valid and which wasn't. With that said, though, I think this is more catering to the developers who felt they were losing money in the long run. Example, EA, who is probably Microsoft's one of their biggest partners next to the NFL and CBS for the Xbox One. Yeah, pretty much. But so anyways, Microsoft does this. The only thing I think that got a lot of hype when they announced it, that people were excited, was Killer Instinct is coming back to the Xbox One.
I fucking love Killer Instinct, but we'll get to that later.
Well, no, let's touch it right now, but let's tell the problem with Killer Instinct coming back to the Xbox One.
Okay, if I may.
All right.
One thing that I heard as a big fan of Killer Instinct is the only person that you get when it starts is Jago, which is fine. Tibetan Ninja, kind of culturally insensitive and stupid, but he was a badass character.
The Killer Instinct is culturally insensitive and stupid.
Yeah, and it gave that girl square boobs, but they fixed that when they went to gold.
Yeah.
In part 2. But anyway, you only get Jago, and you have to pay to download other characters. Now, I realize that this probably seemed like a great idea at first, but I'm pretty sure once they see that everybody who is in the fan base is like, what the fuck are you thinking? They're going to be like, okay, we'll give you all the characters, then we'll make some new ones. That's what I think's going to happen, but I wouldn't think that they would be eliminating the fucking way for you to lend a game to your friends. But regardless, I love Killer Instinct and I want to play this game, but I don't want to support such absolute bullshittery. I just made that word up.
But there's more bad news about Killer Instinct. It's not Rare making it. It's a different studio. Which is bullshit because Rare still exists and they are owned by Microsoft, but they didn't get the guys who had any part to do with it to come back and make it. So it's some other small studio that Microsoft's owned that's producing it.
That's me slapping them in the face for being such fucking tools.
So, I don't know. And my thing is, though, is it's like, are people big enough fans of Killer Instinct that they're going to go buy this system despite all the flaws in it? Like the always having to be online. Like you have to be connected at least once every 24 hours to authenticate your system and your games, or you can't use it.
The answer to that question is this. As a Killer Instinct fan, no, I will not buy a system. I will wait until I know somebody who is dumb enough to not research anything about Xbox to buy it, and then I will go over and possibly pay to download the game so I can play it until I get sick of it and never play it again.
Get your big ballin' friends.
I will gladly pay $20 or $30, to play Killer Instinct for a little while, but I'm not going to buy a fucking system just to play the one game. The game was great, but this new one could suck balls. Like, if you go back a little ways, Altered Beast was one of the best games, best platformers, side-scrollers that has ever come out, period, in my humble opinion. And then they made a new Altered Beast game called Beast Riders, I think it was? No, it was Golden Axe. The Golden Axe, excuse me, I'm getting my references, I am old. And they make Golden Axe Beast Riders, which is one of the biggest pieces of shits that has ever come out on one of the next-gen systems, which was only a couple of years ago. Point being, you cannot sell something on a name alone until you see that the name is indeed carrying on the legacy to which you fell in love with.
Well, yeah, especially when it's like, it's only the name that's the same. Everything else is just some group of different guys with nothing to do with the original making it based on this name and just using those characters. It's not the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll get into another buying something on its name a little bit later when we talk about Sony's press conference. But so, that was pretty much Microsoft's. At the very end, they end it by saying that the Xbox One's $500 in America. It's 500 euros, and then it's 429 pounds. Now, the slap in the face is that 500 American dollars does not translate to 500 euros. It actually translates to about $800 if you take it and look. So 500 euros is equivalent to $800. So Europeans and the British, who also got screwed, are like, fuck you, Microsoft. Hell no. That system is like crazy overpriced. So that was Microsoft's press conference.
If I may, you forgot to add something which is very important, which I promise I will not go off on a rant on. The Xbox One has a camera that never shuts off.
Oh, yeah.
If we could elaborate a little bit on that as to why it counts the number of people who are watching the movie, and as to why we think it's a bad idea to always leave a camera on in your house. Please touch on those if you would.
So in 2011, Microsoft patented a technology that allows camera will pick up the type of people in the rooms, like it will pick up children in the room, and it will cause TV or ads that are based through that to market specifically to those people. So if your camera on your Kinect is always on, even if you're not using it, and it sees there are 3 teenage boys in the room, it's going to market ads through the Xbox One, which has a lot to do with TV now. It's going to market ads specifically to those kids. Same if it sees there's a group of 40-year-old males in the room, it's going to market stuff specifically to them. So, besides all the privacy issues of having a camera or audio equipment constantly on running from a company that's been known to sell stuff to the government, it also seems like it's just another way for them to market ads to you to make more money, which is how most of these internet-based businesses make money now anyways, is through, perfect ad marketing. I mean, that's how Google made money before it had products. So, I see why they have it. I don't agree with it. Despite them saying it's not always on when it really is, because it has to always be on to pick you up when you say Xbox on. So.
That's the thing, and I mean, not that I care if they're watching what the hell that I do, because I pretty much do the same things all the time.
Jerk off.
Well, jerk off is a big proponent there, but mostly it's just me sitting with the laptop, and every couple of minutes I go, and then I go back to just sitting there doing nothing. And then I just leave the house, go running, come back, they might hear some drums or guitar, but that's about it. But some people are super private about what they do in their house. So therefore, those people are going to see this and be like, fuck this system altogether. I don't want them to see me in my rubber sheets. So there's one contingent that you've just completely erased from your profit margin. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. So that was Microsoft's press conference on the Xbox One. So that night, Monday evening, Sony had their press conference on the PS4. Okay? So, right out of the bat, Sony hits on something that Microsoft's had problems with in the past. Like, Microsoft for the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One has a hard time with indie developers. Okay? So, if you want to, as an indie developer, if you're a small company, you're not the EAs or Activisions of the world, and you want to publish a game on Xbox Live, your studio has to market it. It has to publish it actually through the Microsoft Studio to get it on Xbox Live. Okay, which that pretty much says that Microsoft gets a cut of your profit. Okay, so that's bullshit, but that's the hoops you have to jump through to be on the Xbox Live arcade. So Sony, at their press conference, they have indie developers come out on stage and show their games that will be on the PS4 and on the PS3, And they're basically like, you don't have to publish through our studio. You publish through your own studio, and we'll put you on the PS4. So right off the bat, they're already kind of taking a stab at Microsoft. Okay?
Yes.
So then the next thing Sony does during their start showing the games, they show Final Fantasy 15, which looked pretty crazy. I mean, it looked really good. And I haven't really been a Final Fantasy fan since about 9 or 10. Then they showed Kingdom Hearts 3. And people lost their shit. I mean...
I bet.
Yeah, I mean, talk about buying a game just on the name. There are people who are like, I'll buy that system just on the name of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Excuse me. Yes, they will.
But the difference is that Kingdom Hearts 3 is still being published by the same company and group of people. It's still Square Enix. It's not a whole different set of folks.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still getting the same feeling and setting and everything.
Possible product, yes.
Yeah. So, already they've got a lot of hype in the middle of their press conference on that. So then as the press conference goes on, Sony then makes a... This was basically the... If the indie developers thing was kind of like a stab in the side of Microsoft, this was the Hadouken, if you will.
Hadouken!
They make this statement saying that we believe that once a consumer buys a game, they own that game, and if they want to give it to a friend to use or sell it to a friend or sell it somewhere else, that's their choice. We don't have any kind of DRM against it.
Fuck yes. And might I add, didn't they make an awesome commercial where they showed how to trade a used game with a friend?
They did that right during the press conference. Like, those two guys were doing the press conference, and after they got off stage, they were still in their same clothes, and they made a video where this little Asian man says, we're going to show you how to sell, how to give games to friends on a PS4. And the little Asian man just hands his game over to the other guy, and the other guy looks at the camera and says, thank you, and that was it.
That's the whole commercial. That's fucking great.
I'll link that in the description, but yeah, that was a pretty awesome stab. So right now, Microsoft's reeling. They just got stabbed. They've been Hadoukened. The press conference goes on, and Sony concludes it by saying, oh yeah, and our system's only $399. $100 cheaper than the Xbox One. I mean, after I watched this, I really felt like I should get up and call 911 because I just watched somebody get their ass beat. I just watched a beat down. And I mean, I felt sorry for Microsoft. I mean, I really did. And see, I don't think I mentioned this to you, Evan, but the next morning, Sony was like, oh yeah, there's also no region stuff on a PS4, so you could play a Japanese game on an American PS4.
Now I kind of want to buy one.
Yes. That right there, there were people who I knew who were like, I'm not going to buy anything. We're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold the phone. You mean I could buy, JRPGs and play them on my system over here without any kind of weird chipset I've got to put in? I mean, it's basically like Sony decided they were just going to get on their knees and they were going to suck off every gamer in the world at once. I wonder how, their jaw is probably sore as hell at this point. I mean, with that said, I'm not going to buy any of them at launch because I learned my lesson with 8 Xbox 360s all breaking on me. So there's no fucking way I'm going to buy a system at launch ever again.
Yep.
But man, I mean, you got to think on Sony's end how ridiculous that was to come out there and basically your whole press conference, you're basically just dogging Microsoft out.
Well, I mean, both of these places are fully vested in other areas, so if either of them fuck up and fail, it's not like they're going to go under. I mean, especially Microsoft, because, I mean, they charge $8,000 for a singular piece of software, so even if they fuck up and go under on the Xbox One, what do they care? They still have an entire racket of home PC. Sony, makes everything from fucking stereo systems to...
music.
Yeah, I mean,
movies.
So all areas are covered, so even if one of these two did fail, they're not going to really hurt too much. They'd just be like, well, this wasn't the best year, but... I mean, I think perhaps maybe that's why their mindset is like this, especially Xbox, because they're just like, fuck it. They'll give us our money if they want it. If they don't, we'll just get it for them from their home computer.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they're doing this.
And see, the next morning after these two conferences, Nintendo had a video they released because Nintendo didn't do a keynote this year. Like I don't know if they decided not to do a keynote at E3 or they couldn't afford it. I don't know the reason. They're there with a booth, but they didn't do a keynote speech. But in their video, they didn't have any hardware to show, but they showed a lot of games. But they're the same Nintendo games you see all the time. Okay, a new Smash Brothers, which does have Mega Man, which is pretty cool.
Fuck yes, it is.
But, and then they showed a new Mario Brothers. They announced a new Donkey Kong Country, and they announced, I think, a new Animal Crossing, and they announced some 3DS games. But I don't see any of those as reasons to actually go out and buy a Wii U. I mean, I'm not going to go buy a Wii U just for Super Smash Brothers so I can play as Mega Man.
You hope one of your friends does, though.
Maybe. I mean, I never even played the other Smash Brothers on Wii, even though I knew people who bought it because I just didn't give a shit.
Yeah, I played it when my friends bought it. I don't have a Wii personally, and there are some games on there that I really, really do want to play, like Masamune, and the Mad World looks good, but I just never really got around to it. I don't know why. Probably because I'm too busy playing older games.
Yeah. And see, I think that's part of the thing with the Nintendo in general is old games. And that's why people still buy those systems, is they have the memory of all those old amazing games that Nintendo used to do. And that's what's kept their system kind of going with the fanboys, is they have, oh, I remember playing on the Super Nintendo, how awesome all these games were, and blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, Nintendo's pretty much fucked themselves since the N64. I mean, it's been a constant just sitting there just ramming a dildo up their ass for the last 10 or 15 years or so with the systems, because they're basically like cutting out the third-party developers because they keep making this weird hardware that either is motion controlled or some crazy disc shape or your little tablet thing that a third-party developer just doesn't have the money or effort to put into it to develop for this weird system, when they can make one game and just do a simple tweak and put it on three platforms: PC, Xbox, PlayStation. But I got to go out here on a limb, Evan, and I got to apologize to somebody. I don't know if he's listening. But I kind of went off on somebody about Nintendo. All right.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it.
Okay. I didn't think it was mean. Yeah, I've had several people since then say, "Damn, why'd you go off on him like that?" But I'd like to say, I'm sorry, Wesley. I didn't mean to come across as mean about what I said about Nintendo. I just felt I was being real about what was going on with Nintendo, about how they've had very poor quarters, and how a lot of people feel that they are the savior of gaming when they're not. They're just a company, and they have their own things in mind, and they're likely to go the route of Sega and only end up producing games and not consoles in the next go-round, which would be the 9th generation of consoles.
And if I may, I'd like to make a brief apology, too. I'm an idiot, and I accidentally called the game Masamune. But it's actually called Muramasa. Both of those are old Japanese folklore terms. If you give a shit, you can look them up. But it's actually called Muramasa, and it's a really great game. It's fucking beautiful. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'd like to say that what I'm apologizing for is forgivable. What you're apologizing for isn't.
I'm sorry.
Cry, you big pussy.
I don't see no big cats. Last time I seen a cat that was that big, it was Mega Man 3.
Anyways. But
Fuck,
yeah.
I hope that was 3. I'm getting old. I don't remember. It might have been 2. I think it was 3.
But yeah, so I kind of went off. I used to always have had problems with fanboys in general. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, I'm a fanboy for hating fanboys.
You hate yourself.
Yes. It's very difficult to be a fanboy who hates fanboys. Or, you know.
You're the one who rapes the rapers. You are the one who doesn't care for the proclamation of his name as long as the end is met. Is that correct?
Pretty much. I mean, when I worked at GameStop, Nintendo fanboys were always the worst, because they would come in and it didn't matter what it was for Nintendo, they would buy it, and then 9 times out of 10 afterwards they'd be like, yeah, that was pretty shitty, but I'm going to reserve the next one when it comes out anyway. It's like you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. And yeah, I mean, you know, if you're going to buy a system because it's a certain company, that's fine. I'm not saying you're not going to have good games on there, because there are going to be some, but you have to understand that when you buy certain ones, especially a Nintendo system, I can't tell you how many people I know who bought Wii's, and I ask them, I'll see it sit there, I'm like, oh, how often do you play the Wii? Oh, I just use it to watch Netflix. They become like official Netflix boxes because there's not enough games to play on them.
Well, if I could, brother, I'd just like to take a moment to talk about idolatry. That is the problem. They idolize these little machines that are run by the devil known as electricity. And by doing so, they have forgot that God is the only idol worth worshipping, and nothing will be found in these boxes of electric devilry. Now, speaking of electric devilry, I'd like to ask Randy, who is a fan of devilry and magics, which is the best possible game system or platform to play his devil role-playing games on these days. Randy, what is your answer, son?
Well, Evan Jones, the best system to play role-playing games on is easily going to be the PC. Consoles do not participate in the manner that I wish they would with these games and those facilities. So I have to turn to the PC because I can build my own as powerful as I want it. I can do anything I want for it. I can make it do anything I need it to do.
What's the most powerful character you've ever created?
Well, when it comes to role-playing games, I've participated in World of Warcraft for many a year. In World of Warcraft, I had a Tauren warrior, level 80. I used to raid. My real friends raided with me. The few friends I ever had. I was only ever good at that. I love that Tauren warrior. I'm not a furry, though. No. I'm not a furry, I promise. But there's something about a female Tauren. So supple. So warm.
Thank you, Brother Randy, for that touching emotional story about the devil. Okay, that was Okay, where were we?
Alright, well, so, yay or nay, Evan, would you buy any of these new consoles that are out? Or coming out?
That's an official nay, but there's a possibility. If you understand quantum mechanics, there is an alternate universe somewhere with another Evan Jones who is really thinking about buying that Sony, but only because it doesn't have the region bullshit on it. But
buying that Sony, it sounds like something my dad would say. I'm thinking about getting one of them Sonys.
Dude, as I get older, I say more old man bullshit. And speaking of which, again, let me reiterate, the reason that I am not really interested in buying this is I bought an Xbox 360. I basically bought it for two games. Fist of the North Star Kin's Rage 1 and Fist of the North Star Kin's Rage 2. And they were both fucking awesome. A lot of people dogged on them, but if you follow the story, if you know the manga, if you know the anime, they did a beautiful job in translating it over, and they even added some extra stuff that was nice as well. But I would have bought pretty much any system that I'd come out on, as long as I knew that the game wasn't going to suck beforehand. So the blatant disregard of the possibility of something sucking and just buying it because of a system's name is pretty much stupid. Now, getting back to the point that I was making, if you look at Sega Genesis, if you look at Super Nintendo, if you look at Dreamcast, for fuck's sake, what a sad tale that was. All of these old systems had so many good games. Because, I mean, personally speaking, you will never have a role-playing game that is better than Final Fantasy VI or 3 in the US. And I'm going to transition now to the question. What is your favorite game of all time and why? Now, I have to preface this by saying that we received a fantastic question. A question so fantastic indeed that we couldn't answer it yet, and we have to actually fucking study to answer the question. So
yeah, I actually had to go online and do math for this question.
Yeah.
It's a good question, but this is going to be a week for us to study to prepare to answer it.
Yeah, while Kyle might be a math magician, I'm a fucking idiot. I'm just good at making dumb jokes, which is why people keep me around. People peep me around, you see? But the question is, what is your favorite game of all time, system regardless, and why? And I will answer first.
Okay.
My favorite series is Kunio-kun. Kunio-kun, when transitioned to America, became River City Ransom in one area. It was also known as Dodgeball, Crash and the Boys, and Renegade. But for me, River City Ransom. Because, number one, you beat people up and they fucking turn into money. Do you realize how amazing our life would be if some asshole came up and started talking shit to you who had tons of money in his bank account and you could just fucking elbow drop him and all of his money is laying there right in front of you? They went into that a little bit in the Scott Pilgrim movie, which I won't go into that. But for that reason alone, that has been one of the games that I have turned around to the most because you learn special techniques, there are specific gangs, it's got good characters in it, and it even references another Technos game, the Double Dragons, which is nearly my favorite game. But because River City Ransom, i.e. Kunio-kun, has such a fucking lengthy history of excellent games that have spurred from that series, all of them being fucking great, I am going to say on record that River City Ransom is my favorite Nintendo game. I love it so much that one of my old metal bands even wrote a fucking song about how much I love River City Ransom. Downtown Neketsu Monogatari is my favorite Famicom game. You can look that shit up and you can listen to it because I love the game so much that I wrote a fucking song about it. That being said, that is my answer. If you would, Kyle.
So it's not just like the River City Ransom game, it's like that series.
The series is great, but specifically River City Ransom. I just wanted people to know how fucking cool Kunio-kun is.
Oh, man. It's hard for me to say. I have a couple answers based on different reasons. Like, I can give you why this game is my favorite in this type of area and why this game is my favorite in this type of area. Is that acceptable to this?
What is the game that you go back to playing more than anything else?
Minecraft.
Minecraft?
But I wouldn't say Minecraft is my favorite game. But Minecraft's my favorite game for the series of that. I can play Minecraft more than I've ever played anything else. Like, I played MMOs for a long time. I played a ton of them. But every MMO, there comes a point where you fucking hate that game, but you keep playing it because you feel obligated to keep playing it, because if you don't, you're going to get behind the curve. And that's when I always would stop those, because they became jobs. They weren't fun. It was like, I got to get on here. I got to go to work for 8 hours, and then I get off and I got to get on here for 4 hours to keep up and stay on par with everybody. But Minecraft, I can get on, I can play, I can go on different servers, I can hang out with people. If I want to just build crazy stuff, I can build crazy stuff. If I want to do adventuring stuff, I can do adventuring stuff, things like that. It's my favorite type of game that I can just play continuously, or even take a break and come back to and still enjoy. But it's not my favorite single game of all time. If I had to choose one single game of all time, it would probably be a tie between a recent game and a tie between an older game. The older game is Final Fantasy VII, and the recent game is BioShock Infinite.
A lot of people have told me that game is good.
BioShock Infinite is one of the only games at the very end, I was just sitting there watching that last cinema, and I was just like, holy fucking shit, what is going on? And like, the ending is just so, I don't know, it's a very amazing game. Like, usually it takes me time to play games because I'll get bored with them while I'm playing them. I played that game in 2 sittings of 6 hours each, or maybe even more. Whoa. So basically in 12 hours, over 2 days, I beat that game. That's how into it I was. And I never even, I literally forgot to eat on those days because I'm sitting there playing it and I'm enjoying it so much.
That's a good game then.
Yeah. And Final Fantasy VII was the same way back in the day. When I was a kid, I remember I played that game literally for 48 hours straight over a spring break. It broke my PlayStation, and I've still never beaten that game to this day because of that, because I couldn't afford a PlayStation at the time.
Man.
So, but both of those games are like all-time favorite easily.
I just like to go on record and say that I love Shiva from the Final Fantasy series. A woman made of winter. A woman made of winter. And plus she always has huge boobs in the games. It's like they wrote it just for me.
So what you're saying is you like frigid women?
No, I like women who have frigid qualities, but not actually are frigid. She is a cold woman, but she could give the best hug in the world. She just has cold skin. You don't know that.
I just think that, like, if you were to have sex with her, though, it would be like tongue on pole when it's iced over. Like, your dick would just get stuck.
Well, I would be willing to take that risk, to be completely honest with you, because I know I could just pour some hot water and get it right back out.
Yeah, but what if you got, like, frostbite on your dick and they had to remove it? Would it be worth it?
It's a good woman to have it stuck in for the rest of my life.
Yeah, but it's not attached to you. It's, like, stuck in her and gone.
No, I'm stuck in there with her. You know, I might just put it in once and leave it there forever and just hug her and just wait to die.
No. When frostbite happens, though, like, it basically, like, to the point where they have to remove it or you die. You would just die.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I would just hold on to her and wait to die because she's that fucking awesome. I mean, what if you go out shitting your pants? You know, I'm saying you're
gonna go out shitting your pants. That's what happens.
No, I mean, like, what if you're like Elvis style? What if you're sitting on the toilet and you die? That's embarrassing as shit. What better way to go? That was a good fun. What better way to go than having sex with a beautiful woman? I'm sorry, that's insensitive to Kyle and the other gay people out there. What better way to go than to be having sex with the most perfect person that you would want to be with? And that's not actually true because Belle Dandy would be the most perfect, but Shiva's close.
I want to clarify for the audience, I'm not gay. I don't have a problem with gay people, but I'm not gay.
It's okay if you are, man. You said coming out and talked about dildos going in asses a lot. That's just fine, man. You know, I'm left of center, so I'm not going to hold it against you, no matter how much you want me to. Ba-doom.
Well, with that terrible pun, I think it's another time to end this podcast. So next week, though, I do want to give a little kind of a. I don't want to make a promise, okay?
Oh, I know where we're going.
I don't want to make a promise about this, but as you heard last week with Mondo, he's a Bruiser Braswell. He's big into wrestling. He knows people. And we might have one of the biggest wrestling sensations of all time who's actually, I don't know why he would come and talk to us, but he might actually be willing to come talk to us and answer some questions from us, and maybe from you. So, like, if you have just general wrestling-related questions, you can send them to us at offenderspodcast@gmail.com, and we can ask him if he's next week or the week after. But, like I said, no promises, but I don't want to even say names, because I don't want somebody going on, like, his Twitter or Facebook and harassing him about it.
Well, I might be willing to make that risk, because Mondo and myself, we recently went to a wrestling event, which was outstanding. And all I have to say is, woo! It was a real good time.
Better believe it, brother.
So I guess you'll just have to tune in next week to see exactly who we're talking about.
All right. Well, Evan, where can people follow you at?
Facebook.com/The Tengu Ninja, where they can say whatever they want about me, and I won't get upset about them, but I hope they just send me funny videos on YouTube of people falling down or girls in bikinis.
Okay. Do you have anything else you're doing, band-wise, or anything else people can follow you?
Yes, I'm in 7,000 bands because I'm too nice to tell people no. I play drums for Sugar Virus. I play drums for Dragon Sleeper. I play drums for Resonate to Decay. I play drums for Monster Party. I play drums in a billion bands is what I'm saying. So if anybody wants me to get on stage and scream about old Nintendo games, I think they say hit me up these days. That's what the children say.
Yeah.
So
or if anybody needs a drummer for a band, I think
you shut the fuck up right now.
Evan's looking for a couple more bands to be.
No, that's it. I'll give you a high five and a hug, but don't ask me to be in your band for fuck's sake.
All right. Well, if you want to follow me, you can check me out on Twitter at Zombie Jesus here. That's Zombie Jesus HERE. If you're into like video game Let's Plays, I've got some up on the YouTube channel of me on a modded Minecraft server derping around doing stupid shit. You can more than happy to follow and watch those too. If you have questions for us or questions about wrestling for our possible guests next week, you can send those to offenderspodcast@gmail.com. Once again, offenderspodcast@gmail.com. And we will check you out next week. Peace.
Be safe.